Hi everyone, Amber here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a very exciting one that I'm so excited to share. This video is part of a 12 Days of Christmas hop here on YouTube that I am participating in with a bunch of other talented crafters. So from today until December 23rd, there is going to be a new video every other day that will be uploaded on everyone's channels. So I will leave the schedule for that down below. So be sure to hop along every other day to everyone's channels to check out what they made. There's lots of fun projects and a great variety, so I hope that you guys will do that and that you'll enjoy this series. Everyone is so talented, and all of the holiday and Christmas themed projects are so cute. So in my video today, I am going to be creating, of course, a holiday themed mini album. So to start, I am taking 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard that measure 4 by 8.5 inches. And to wrap those, I'm using pieces of paper that measure 5 by 9.5 inches. So to adhere these to the wrapping piece of paper, I'm just using 1/4 inch double-sided tape. The brand is Score Tape. I find it on Amazon. I get asked a lot what brand I use, so in case you were curious, that is where I get it and what it's called. So I just adhered those face down onto the back of the wrapping piece of paper. And then I scored along the edges of the chipboard just to make it easier to fold up on all of those little side panels afterwards. And then I cut the corners. So when you cut the corners off of your paper, make sure to leave about 1/8 of an inch or so of paper. This will give you a nice clean finish. Now I'm going to add stitching to the covers of my album. So to do this, I'm just using a ruler and I'm kind of guesstimating about 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. And then I'm just going to use these pencil marks to as a guide for when I use my sewing machine to stitch. So I'm just marking all those out. And if you stitch right over these, you can't even see the pencil marks, and you can always erase any that you can see later on. So to make this album a bit more fun, I decided to make the covers shaker pockets. So I'm using this kind of off-white glitter tool, and I stitched along 3 sides on both of my covers. I left the tops or bottom of them open, and now I'm making a little shaker mix just using some sequins and little bits that I had in my stash. And then I'm just going to add all of these sequins to the covers, and then I'm going to add that final stitch across the top to seal everything in. So these larger snowflakes were a bit hard to get in there. They kept getting caught on all the little holes in the tool, but it worked in the end, and I think it's so cute, and this just added to the magical kind of look that I was going for this time of year. So once I have my shaker pockets done, I'm just going to finish the wrapping process of my covers. So I am going to add some of that double-sided tape to the backs of all of those little panels that are all around the sides of my chipboard, and then I'm just going to fold those over and secure them down. So I'm using that same tape as before, and then I am going to just fold those over, and once that's done, I have to cut away all of that extra tulle. So that was a bit tricky because I didn't sew right up on the edge of the book. There was a little bit of space, about 1/2 inch or so left on the edge, so I had to be really careful to keep everything even. So I like to start wrapping my chipboard by folding the long sides over first, then I tuck in any excess paper on the shorter sides to give the corners a nice clean look, and then I just fold those over as well and secure everything down. So you can see I tucked in those corners just using my scoring tool, then I'm just folding that over and making sure it's nice and stuck down. And now it's time to do the cutting of the tulle. And my scissors are super gummy with tape and adhesive, so this was a bit of a lengthy process. But once that is done, it's time to move on to creating the actual book part, which is super fun, and This book has so many pages to work with, and that's why I think it's going to be great for my December or Christmas album this year. So I'm just finishing cutting off that tulle, and then I'm going to add the lining to my albums as well as the spine or binding of my book. So for the binding, I have 2 pieces of paper that measure 3.5 by 4 inches. And on the 4-inch side, I scored at 1 inch and 3 inches. Then I'm adding adhesive to the top part of that, just where I scored in that score margin. And that is going to be adhered to either side of our covers to create a hinge or the spine. A bit hard to explain, but once you see it, it'll make sense. So I'm just folding those over, and then I am going to adhere them like so, and then add the next cover on top, and then I'm going to add the lining. So when I figured out the measurements for this, I made sure to have 1/2 inch of space left on the top of the cover and the bottom of the cover, and also have 1/2 inch of space in between the 2 hinges. So just, if you recreate this, use a ruler to make sure you're getting all of those measurements right. You can always eyeball it, but I wanted to be super precise with this album. So I wasn't sure how to go about gluing these down, but I just decided to go for it and be really careful and try to keep everything nice and even. I made sure there that it was standing up properly, and now I'm going to secure all that down. And for the linings, I have 2 pieces of paper that measure 3 3/4 inch by 8 1/4 inch. I'm adding some of my double-sided tape to the edges as well as the center, and then I'm just going to secure those down and keep them nice and centered so the album has a nice, clean, professional finish for being handmade at least. So just going to center that and secure it down. So I think this type of binding is super fun. I've experimented with it a few times so far this year, and it's super quick, very beginner friendly, and I just really like the look of it. So for the pages, I have a bunch. So 7 pages will go on the top hinge and 7 will go on the bottom. So in total, you are going to need 14 pieces of paper that measure 3.5 by 7 1/4 inch. And on the 7 1/4 inch side, you're going to score it at 3.5 and 3 3/4 inch. So to add the pages to my book, I'm using elastic. This is another binding technique I've used a lot this year, and I just love how simple it is. And I love that you can add a bunch of embellishments to the spine by using this technique. So I was showing you there, I have lots of beads that I hand painted, lots of charms, and cute little bits that I am going to use to decorate up the spines. So I am just taking a bunch of these and I'm going to thread them onto the piece of elastic that I will be using. And I'm just going to thread them on in a random pattern. I'm not giving too much thought to it because I want this to look very eclectic and kind of just busy. I really like that look lately. So I am just going to kind of go with the flow. And then once I have a decent amount on, about the length of the hinge itself, I'm just going to tie that elastic on to the hinge of my book. And then I am going to repeat that process 13 more times. I am only doing half of the elastic strings that I need, so only 7 of them will be decorated with the beads and the charms. The rest are just elastic threads because there wasn't enough space on the hinge to add beads and charms to every single thread. So keep that in mind. But that was what the spines look like now, and now I am just adding all 14 of my pages in by just adding them through the elastic. And I did realize here that I added 8 threads of elastic to both hinges, and then I just went in and snipped one off on both. So 8 pages will not fit on these hinges, only 7 will, so keep that in mind as well. And as always, I forgot to mention, but the measurements for every part of this album can be found down below in the description box, so be sure to check that out if you do decide to recreate this album. That way you won't have to make these little mistakes like I made. So this album has a ton of pages. I think it has 28 if I did the math right, which is the perfect amount for a December daily or 25 days of Christmas album, even 12 days. It's just the perfect amount for this time of year. So I'm really excited to fill this up with all of my holiday memories. I just think it turned out so cute and I'm so happy with it. So coming up here is a flip through of the album. The pages are not decorated at all yet. I'm saving that for the actual month of December, but here is how I decorated up the cover. I think it looks so cute and I just love how everything is so pastel and bright because that's not something that I usually do, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with that this time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below and I will do my best to help you out. And remember to check out the description box for the measurements as well as all of the other people and the videos that will be in this hop during this month. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in my next video. Take care and happy crafting. Bye.